Okay, so what if pretty much everything you've ever been taught about money is wrong? That's really the core question we're tackling today. We're going to dive into the story of Robert Kiyosaki, a guy who grew up with two dads. One was this super educated academic who, despite his credentials, was always broke. The other, an eighth-grade dropout who ended up one of the richest guys in Hawaii. This is the story of the rich dad mindset.
I mean, just think about that for a second. You've got two major father figures in your life, both giving you advice, but their ideas about money couldn't be more different. They're polar opposites. One path seems safe and secure, the other leads to a life of financial freedom. Which one would you choose? That's the exact dilemma a young Robert Kiyosaki had to figure out, and it's a choice that changed everything for him. And this, right here, is the fundamental split. His biological father, his poor dad, he preached the path we all know. Go to school, get good grades, get a safe, secure job. You know, the classic rat race. But his best friend's dad, his rich dad, taught him something completely revolutionary. Don't work for money, learn how to make money work for you. It sounds like a small change, but believe me, it's a world of difference.
Poor Dad's whole philosophy was kind of built on this one idea. The love of money is the root of all evil. And we hear that a lot. But that kind of thinking often leads to this fear of wealth, a fear of taking risks. You just play it safe your whole life, and you never really learn how money actually works. But then Rich Dad came along and just flipped that idea completely on its head. He said, no, the lack of money is the root of all evil. The stress, the fighting, the missed opportunities that come from not having enough, that's the real evil. And this huge contrast forced Kiyosaki to really think for himself and choose his own path. And this is just a perfect example of how their mindsets differed. Poor Dad's go-to phrase was, "I can't afford it." And that's a statement. It's a dead end, right? It just shuts your brain down. But Rich Dad taught him to ask a question instead. How can I afford it? That little shift, it forces your brain to wake up, to start looking for solutions, to get creative. It's the difference between a closed door and a wide open field of possibilities. So how did Rich Dad actually teach these lessons? Well, it all starts with lesson number one, and it's maybe the most important one of all. And it didn't happen in a classroom, that's for sure. It started with a real-world test designed to teach them a hard truth about working for money. So picture this, 9-year-old Robert and his friend Mike go to Rich Dad and say, hey, we want to learn how to get rich. And his first lesson is making them dust canned goods in one of his stores for 10 cents an hour. I mean, can you imagine? It was boring, it was frustrating, and the pay was a joke. But of course, there was a brilliant reason behind it all. This wasn't about the 10 cents. This was a setup. Rich Dad wanted them to get frustrated. He wanted them to get angry at the low pay. And when they finally had enough and went to quit, he hit them with the next step. Okay, now you work for me for free. The whole point was to get their minds off the idea of a paycheck so they could start seeing the bigger picture, the opportunities all around them. So why all the drama? Well, here's the deep psychological reason. Rich Dad knew that most people's lives are run by two emotions, fear and desire. The fear of not paying your bills gets you up in the morning to go to a job you probably don't love. Then, once you get that paycheck, desire kicks in. You start thinking about all the cool stuff you can buy. And that cycle is the engine of the rat race. And this is what he famously called the rat race. It's that endless loop, get up, go to work, pay bills, repeat. So many people are stuck on this hamster wheel, thinking that if they could just get a raise, all their problems would disappear. But they never do. By making them go through this little mini rat race, Rich Dad gave them an incredible gift. He showed them the trap so they would never get caught in it. Okay, so once they understood the trap, it was time to learn how to escape. This is when Rich Dad shared the single most important rule of financial literacy. This is the big aha moment that really separates the rich from everyone else. The secret, as he explained it, was not some complex formula. Actually, it was so simple that most people, especially smart, educated people, just completely miss it. He told them, if you really want to be rich, this is all you need to know. It's rule number one. It is the only rule. Okay, so here's the first part. What is an asset? Forget all the complicated definitions you learned in school. Rich Dad's version is so simple. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket, period. If it generates cash flow for you, it's an asset. And a liability? Yep, you guessed it. It's anything that takes money out of your pocket. That's it. It's all about the direction of the cash flow. Cash in versus cash out. That simple little rule is the key to building wealth.
And right here, you can see that rule in action. It's so clear. Over on the left, you've got the rich. What do? They spend their lives buying assets, things that make them money. That income then buys them more assets, and it just snowballs. Now look at the right. The poor and middle class, they spend their money on liabilities, things that they often think are assets. Their salary comes in and boom, it goes right back out to pay for all that stuff, keeping them stuck. And this leads us to maybe the most shocking idea in the whole book. For most people, their house is not an asset. I know, that goes against everything we're told, but think about it. Does your house put money in your pocket every month? Nope. It takes money out for the mortgage, taxes, insurance, repairs. According to Rich Dad's rule, that makes it a liability. And thinking it's your best investment is a huge financial trap. Okay, so these two 9-year-old kids are armed with this, world-changing information. But how do they actually use it? This is where it gets really fun, because this is the story of their very first real business. So remember, working for free totally rewired their brains. They stopped thinking about earning a wage and started looking for opportunities everywhere. And because their minds were open, they noticed something at the local convenience store, something everyone else was completely blind to. It was so brilliant. They saw the store manager ripping the covers off of old comic books to send back for credit, and then just throwing the rest away. So they asked if they could have the old comics. And just like that, their first business was born. They set up a comic book library in a spare room, charged all the neighborhood kids a dime to come in and read for a couple of hours, and they even hired Mike's sister to be the librarian. And what was the result? Their little business started making an average of $9.50 a week. Now that might not sound like a lot, but for two kids in the 1950s, that was a ton of money. And way more importantly, it was money they created from an idea, not from their time. And here is the absolute magic of it all. They had created a true asset. That comic book library was putting money in their pocket, even when they weren't around. They could be at school or playing outside, and their little business was still chugging along, making them money. They had finally done it. They had their money working for them. So when you boil it all down, the whole story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is about more than just money or business. It's really about the incredible power of choice. The choice to adopt a certain way of thinking, which ultimately shapes your entire life. Kiyosaki often talks about his favorite poem by Robert Frost, you know the one, about the two roads in the woods. For him, choosing to listen to Rich Dad was exactly that. It meant going against the grain, against everything his own father, a man he loved, had taught him. It was the road less traveled, for sure, and that choice made all the difference. And so, we end this explainer right where we started, with a choice. It's the same choice Rich Dad gave two little boys all those years ago. Are you on a path where you're working hard for your money? Or are you learning how to make your money work hard for you? The path you decide to take, well, that's going to determine everything.